I'd like to thank everyone for coming out today. Got a big announcement coming, and so why don't we go ahead and get things started. Yes, how about you question first with the Neanderthal mask?
Yes, me wonder who you say hi to, see how day is going?
Excellent question, excellent question. I think especially with the mask setup, we gotta ask like, Wookie, how are you doing today? Are you having a good one? All right, yes, you with the long hair and the jacket?
Yes, Trent Krim, independent.
Aren't you from that show?
I've been looking for that next innovation in sport beyond the lasso way. I was wondering, why'd you gather all of us here today?
Glad to see you're real. Yeah, so I want to start before we dive into the video by saying major news. I do believe that Hunter and Trevor are better men than I.
So catch me if I fall.
What is up, YouTube fam? Robbie C here. Today we're going to talk about putting, and more specifically choosing your putting putter and what kind of thoughts can go into it, as well as addressing a common statement, I guess is the best way to put it. In fact, I'd even be willing to say that I've put this statement on my own channel before and said it multiple times. We addressed it in the 50K video, but until it goes away, I also feel like I need to address it. The giant spot on my face is from a skin tag that I had removed. Talking about putting putters, there are a few factors that go into choosing how you can pick your putting putter, especially when you're trying to find the one that you're going to stick with for an extended period of time. The three factors we look at are bead versus beadless, depth, and the plastic type. Because the misconception or statement that we throw out before is that inside of the circle, pretty much all putters are going to fly the exact same. And I think that statement still holds true, especially if you haven't spent a lot of time trying to dial in your putt and really getting that thing figured out. Now, in 2023, I signed with Foundation Disc Golf, and we put out a poll to the internet voting what I should be putting with, and y'all chose Lunas for me to putt with for the rest of 2023. The Luna, for those of you who are unfamiliar, is a beadless disc with, I would say it's medium depth. It's not super deep, but it's also not very shallow either, so right in the middle. And it comes most commonly in this rubber blend plastic type. And when I first started putting with it throughout the year, I struggled. The Luna, obviously a very good putter. It comes in the hands of Paul Macbeth, who has won several world championship titles before, and it feels okay in the hands. A lot of people, I work at a local disc golf shop myself on Thursdays, and a lot of people will come in and ask me, Robbie, putting with Lunas, but what if I wanted to switch it up? What should I look at? What should I consider? And the Luna is a tough one to sort of find a replacement for because its hand feel is very different than anything else. And the longer I've putted with them, I've actually realized something unique that I haven't found in other putter flights. And this rubber blend is very hit or miss for people. People either really dig it, or it can be a little concave and it has that extra grip to it. So some people love that aspect. But anyone who played around with me knew that this rubber blend Luna definitely wasn't jiving with me. And I'd like to say, oh man, it's because I hadn't put in a lot of time and reps with it. But I'm someone who knows that putting is a strength of mine. And so I spend a lot of time in my backyard in this 25-foot setup trying to putt over and over again, really dialing in my putt. In fact, in 2023, I have made it a practice of mine to try to putt for at least 18 minutes every day, rain or shine. It helps that I've got an indoor practice putting setup, but trying to really dial this in. So when I was in the midst of my putting woes, I had a friend, Mason Grammer, part of the Birdie fam, actually bring me a CT Luna, which stands for Crazy Tough Plastic, in the Discraft lineup. Now, I think that my best feeling putter I've had in my hand, or when I found my true confidence with putting, was when I was on Team Innova. I was putting with KC Pro Plastic. KC Pro Plastic is very stiff, and I love a stiff putter because my push putt has a lot of supination and allowing these fingers to really drive into the bottom of the putter. So for me, the depth isn't necessarily as big of a deal, but the two things that I rely on a lot are the bead of the putter as well as the stiffness of the plastic. Because when I get these softer plastics in my hand, such as the rubber blend, when it's in the summer, which is another thing to consider, a lot of people will pick their plastic type. Personally, I like to change between what plastic I'm putting with in the winter as well as in the summer, because in Alabama, it can get crazy hot. So pulling these putters out, if they're a givey plastic, can, when I try to put my pop and move on the bottom of the disc, if it has some give to it, I find that I feel uncomfortable with the disc in my hand because it's like it's bouncing back to me, and that is not a great feeling. And something I struggled with KC Pro plastic was the KC Pro AVR in the winter is very slick. So I struggled because the JK AVR is the only other mold that the KC AVR is made in. And so with that different plastic, it was almost too givey, you know, like a proper Goldilocks situation of trying to find the right one. So when I was in the midst of my Luna struggles, the CT plastic I thought was actually really solid because it is crazy tough, as they might say, and it has a nice amount of firmness to it while still having decent amount of grip. So I was in love with the CT plastic for a little bit. I thought it solved one of my major issues, which was how the plastic felt in my hand. Although it still is a Luna, so that beadless putter, I find myself, one of the big reasons that people love beaded putters is because, especially if you put your finger either on top of the rim or you put it underneath, it gives you a consistent spot that your finger can rest in, that it can settle in. And this is something that a lot of people overlook. They think that they have inconsistency in their putt, and it's because when you're trying to find the right putter, trying to have my finger here versus here, you see that little bit of a slight difference there. I know it seems very minute, but as someone who has practiced their rep tens of thousands of times in the backyard, throwing putt after putt after putt, those little differences are what takes me from my consistency and feeling that clean release to, oh, okay, it was a little off and so it got out early, or I didn't feel like I put enough of a move on it. And the beadless nature of the Luna, I really struggled with. But as you're trying to find your putter and really dial it in for you, something you need to pay attention to is, do I love this plastic type? Does this putter feel really good, but it may get a little slick in colder temperatures, so is it available in other plastics? These are all factors that I've gone through in my personal putting journey that I want to share with you in this video, so that as you are choosing your putter, you can find out. Because lots of you in your putting practice basket, you may not have a stack of 10 or 15 Lunas available, because honestly, these guys come in at like $20, $25 a pop for base plastic, which means that it can get really expensive to gather a whole stack of them in your basket. So your practice putter setup may be more like you have 5 of the putter you're actually putting with, and then you have 5 of another random putter, or you've just acquired used putters over time, and so you just putt with this conglomerate of things. Now, do I think that that is inherently bad? No, I don't think that it is terrible for you to be practicing your putt with a multitude of different putters, because once again, for lots of people, you need to spend the time learning your stroke. That little bit of a consistency release that I'm even talking about with the Lunas only comes into play when I would say you have fully mastered your putt, when you've put in enough reps to become a true student of your throw, of your putt, so that those subtle, minute differences actually you can immediately pay attention to and start trying to correct. But when you're looking to take your putting game to the next level, it truly does help to have the same putter in the same plastic that you're working with. The bold statement that we've made before is that inside of the circle, pretty much all putters fly the same. And I would argue that at about 10 to 15 feet, that is the case. It doesn't matter whether I'm putting with that type of putter, or I can take my dog's toss frisbee and throw it from the same place, and it still functions the exact same. And to emphasize that point, I just want to show you the consistency of these two discs. Right inside of a certain range, I really do think that that doesn't necessarily affect how the putter is flying. Let's say on your putt, if you don't have a fixed cadence, for me it is 1, 2, and boop, and I toss the disc. I know that this cadence is repeated over and over in my head, that once the disc comes to the very top, it is here, 1, 2, and boop, and I throw the putt, and it's going to feel almost the exact same every single time. But I've practiced this over and over again. That is where the nature of the Luna really came to start shocking me, because the Luna in its original flight, and I think a reason that Paul actually loves this disc, is because if you don't put a lot of pop on the disc and a lot of zest on the disc, what's going to happen is it actually drops really hard out of the sky. If I don't put a lot on it, and you could say, oh, Mr. YouTube man, that's the same for every putt. If you don't put any RPM on it or any rotations, it's just going to drop out of the sky like a rock. But I'm not coming to you saying this because I've only been putting with Lunas for a week and a half or 2 weeks. In fact, when I tell people who's going to try out putters, I tell them to try them for 2 months. And here we are 6 months into the process of me working with Lunas and spending all of my normal reps and all of my normal practice on the Luna trying to get it dialed. But there is something about the Luna that when you don't put a lot on it, it falls out of the sky like a dead duck, or when you put a lot on it, suddenly it turns into one of the glidiest putters ever, and it just gets going so hard. So for me, as I'm trying to figure out that distance, once I get to about the 25-foot range, that's where I start to notice the subtle differences of that, of if I give any real power to this thing at all, I'm hitting a lot of bands and coming across the top a lot, as you guys have even seen throughout the putting inside of this video. So then I start questioning myself during the round, and I start leaving it a little short because I don't want to put any pop on it, and I get the immediate regression of jamming it into the cage over and over and over again. Really, once I hit about 25 feet, that's where this factor really starts to show itself inside of this disc. Now, once again, I think Discraft has created something really cool with that, because if you are, let's say, Paul Macbeth on hole 17 at Emporia Country Club, and you know you got to get one from 75 feet out, you can give your putter, give your Luna a little bit of bang, and it's going to get up and it is just going to soar to the basket. I have made a lot of circle 2 efforts and circle 2 hits with these Lunas very casually, because I can be in a deep straddle and tell myself, hey, let's get it, and just give it a little extra faster supination, some faster pop, and bang, especially in the CT plastic that can hold up to it, and I've nailed some circle 2 looks, which has been really cool. But like I've said in the warm-up videos for several people before, I'm not looking to make a lot of circle 2 putts because I don't really want to have a lot of circle 2 looks. So what am I supposed to do in this variance of, I don't really trust the putter, because I don't know if that line of too much glide being engaged versus it's going to fall out of the sky like a dead duck. 25 to 33 feet is where I can make a ton of strokes up on the field with my confident putting inside of deep circle 1. Thus bringing me to the major announcement of today's video. For those of you who tuned into my video on Tuesday, July 4th is actually my birthday. And so in an effort to maintain confidence while I'm out there on the course, because I don't think that any of you watching this are like, you know what, when we voted for that, our #1 goal was to destroy Robbie C as a putter and hope that he falls apart into oblivion and never finds confidence again, or that he's frustrated whenever he's out on the course. At least I don't think you guys are that malicious. I think you just wanted to see Lunas in action, and I really tried to make them work. But as a birthday present to myself for the remainder of 2023, I'm actually going to be switching to a different putter. And so I wanted to talk you through 2 options that I've currently tried and explain sort of the why and why not for each of them. First up in my trials was the Premier Discs War Pigeon, which I think is a phenomenal putter. It feels super good in the hand. You can see it has a really pronounced bead, which checks off a mark for me that I really like. It has some deep, good depth to it, and so that feels really good. I love everything about this putter, how it flies, how it soars through the air. Feels really good. And I think in this Echo plastic, which is their base plastic, it feels really good as a winter putter. You can see it has a little bit of give to it, which for me, being someone who really loves a firm plastic, is sort of a drawback, because it has every bit of glide that I love to see out of the disc. And I love the idea of my putter coming from a smaller company to try to help raise them up and give them some recognition and notoriety. So just think it is something super cool that we can do as content creators to sort of draw attention. I'm gonna have to reach out and see if they have any of the plastic mixes on the horizon to maybe get a more stiffer base plastic, so that I could easily use the Echo plastic during the winter, as well as another sturdier plastic during the summer. Because once again, I realize it sounds super particular, but when you guys have found yourselves putting in the effort and putting in the time to really practice your putt, those particular preferences, I feel, are what actually takes you from being a great putter to a phenomenal putter. I always go to the story of Tiger Woods, who was like handed a set of irons at a major event or something like that, and he like literally held them, looked it down, did one practice swing, and told the person like, hey, these are a degree off, and they were like, no, trust me, they're not. And he goes, no, they are. They went and measured it, and he was dead right that they were actually a degree off or something like that. Golf is all about being familiar with your tools, and I really love the War Pigeon. I think it's phenomenal, and definitely think people should check it out. Once again, I just think I'm a few tweaks away from having it definitely win out that slot, which means in the meantime, I am coming back to an old classic that I loved using in the latter half of 2022, and that is the Dagger. I think the daggers in this Sense plastic, which is the base plastic version of the Royal line, is so phenomenal. has just as much sturdiness as I'm looking for, but still a ton of grip to it, which feels really good. Also going with the Latitude 64 or a Trilogy putter, when we get to the winter, I can switch to a 0 medium, which is still gonna have some firmness to it in that colder climate, but giving the grippiness that I'm looking for. The Dagger boasts a 5 glide 2501 with its deep profile and that massive bead. It is giving me all the consistency that I looked for, and I truly would believe that the Dagger does actually boast that 5 glide, because with a little effort I can get a ton of glide out of it. And I can even tell in just this week of trying to work with this putter as the president and testing it back out again, the Lunas have already trained me to a point of like, I definitely didn't engage it there. And what do you know, the Dagger just glides into the basket. It's giving me also from range the same amount of glide that I was getting from the Lunas when I really gave them some zip. But I know how to turn off and on the glide of the Dagger versus the Luna, which at that 25 to 33 foot range was super unpredictable. So what does this mean overall? Robbie C is a quitter. Mr. YouTube man, you're a quitter. At the core of it, yes. But once again, I think that we make our best content when we're out there and we're happy. And I really did want to give the Lunas their best effort and their time in the sun. And that's what I used the whole 2023 first half of it to utilize. I want to thank Discraft for hooking me up with them. And I really do think the Luna is a fantastic putter. Obviously, Paul has done really well with them. And I want to make sure that there are Luna lovers out there in the comments. And I've had the opportunity to acquire quite a few Lunas trying to test them out. And that's where we want to make it work for you guys, and so that you win from this trial period sort of coming to a close. And that is that I'm going to be giving away 3 packs of Lunas in the comments, and they're going to be Lunas that I have thrown, tested out, had sent to me, things like that, so that you get the opportunity to say, hey, Robbie C's been using this backyard and these Lunas are getting rehomed to an amazing place. So here's how we're going to give away is I'm going to ask the question right here, why do you love the Luna? And the more creative answers are going to win. I've got several of these to give away, so trust me, if you see someone who is like crazy clever with theirs, don't be disheartened. You have the opportunity to win as well. In the meantime, I'm super stoked to be back to a point where I am super confident when I'm on the putting green, especially as I am taking this year to sort of rework my driver form. Having confidence on the putting green has allowed me to have some sort of sanity while I'm out there, because if I destroy my putting and I destroy my driving, it makes it really hard to stay that positive force out there on the course. So I hope you guys will forgive me and understand that this is totally not hopefully a backstab at you guys for coming short in this. And once again, I do think Hunter and Trevor, just better human beings than me for sticking to it and riding it out for their entire year. Mad props to them. They're killing it. And like, Trevor, this is Trevor's 2nd year doing this, so the dude is an absolute madman, mad respect. Couldn't be me. In the meantime, I hope you guys have an amazing rest of the week. I'm really looking forward to hearing your responses. Happy 4th of July week to all of our in-state people. And for those of you who are international watching this, well, I wish you the best and hope it's just been an awesome start to your July. In the meantime, hope you have an amazing rest of your week. Please make it fantastic for someone else too. But for now, we're gonna leave you with the birdie.